Hello and welcome to the Movie Book Club. Today we're going to be talking about Shazam, and we got the powers to talk about films for longer than their runtime when we entered a cave and said a wizard's name. How are you today, James?
I'm doing really well this morning, Dave. Great to be here again, mate.
So we left it off last week where they were having a powers montage.
Yes.
And they were going through all of the different powers and testing what Shazam can do and what he cannot do.
Yes, absolutely.
And they were playing along with that Queen's Don't Stop Me Now, which is the song we entered in with.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was in the warehouse. It was actually just a tiny bit just before I got to that, Dave. I was just like thinking about it last night. There was just that lovely little moment before we go to the warehouse where they defeat the bullies that had been interfering with Freddie earlier on in the movie, and it's just Freddie just coming out basically saying, I don't think it's going to buff out, but what made me laugh is that he had a GoPro on his helmet just off camera. So it's classic Freddie again, filming everything and uploading.
The what happened is the bullies get out of their car, and then when they turned around after leaving it was gone.
Yeah, certainly. And then that was the other small thing before we went to the warehouse was Shazam himself trying to take basically Freddie and himself
out of school.
Yeah, totally, Dave. And like basically saying, oh yeah, my father's coming from the business office, a classic way a child would say, because they have no concept of what to say doing the work stuff. But it's just us being Irish would say, like, if any of your listeners are international, which they probably aren't, but if they are in Ireland, like moran, which you say in the States, we pronounce moran. But basically, Shazam called him Detective Moron. Which is just a real Irish joke, actually.
And Billy in this one was trying to sort of get on his good side, say, oh, this must be the security guard that all you kids look up to so much. And the security guard, you could see him puff up, he was so happy. And Freddie goes, no, that's a different one. This guy sucks.
Freddie's so excellent.
Freddie's giving him no. And I realized as well that the sort of childlike thing where you take someone's car and you destroy it because you don't like them.
Yeah.
It was actually done in Man of Steel.
Yes.
Superman, who is not a child and has no excuses, did this exact thing just to a guy who was rude with him at a bar.
Yeah, that's excellent. And that also then harks back to the original Superman, where Christopher Reeve, for some unknown reason, travels all the way back to close to Alaska to just punch a bully out.
I don't even remember that.
After he's just defeated basically intergalactic aliens.
Yeah,
he goes and he spins him around in a chair, do you remember, and slides him down the counter through all pieces of pie and food in some kind of a 1940 slapstick way of defeating him.
Yes.
And then we've got Christopher Reeve looking at the waitress and saying, he goes the kind of flexing muscles going, I've been pumping iron. So it's a trope in superhero movies where they do something childish. Their revenge is childish.
And Shazam does specifically mention Superman at a number of points, because when they were doing the powers training, Freddie's running through his list.
Yes.
And he goes, more powerful than a locomotive?
Oh, you're absolutely
And Billy
right.
goes, locomotive? What are you, an old-time prospector?
It's a really good line, and leaping with a single bound.
Trying to leap through Billy, and he hits into the building about 3/4 of the way up, smashes the window, and everybody's screaming.
Yes.
I made a note here that this bit kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you ever see the film Chronicle. It was a Max Landis film written that was basically I'm trying to remember actors' names now, but with the microphone in front of me, they all escape. But basically,
it's okay, mate.
The whole film was filmed in first-person camera perspective. There's a plot impetus that, for whatever reason, someone's always filming it, and
it's a bit like that great monster movie, Cloverfield.
Yes, I may have had some overlap between them, but basically when there's a moment where three guys accidentally get superpowers, and they're trying to figure out what their powers are because they don't know, and they're filming everything in first person, and while Shazam is doing his test, Freddie's filming everything in first person.
Yeah, you're so right.
Chronicle's quite a serious film, so there's not a lot of overlap between these two.
Yeah, I must check that out though.
It's written by Max Landis. I believe I have the Blu-ray. If you have a Blu-ray player, we
quality
can
people.
Do that on. And but so they're going around, and Billy's loving being a superhero, and he's zapping people's phones and saying, your phone is charged, your phone is charged.
Yeah. That's quality. Yeah,
and then they bought the beer earlier, but now they do the other thing that you do if you were suddenly looking very old. Billy attends a strip club. And they do, and that's really funny too, because even we'll say when they got the beer, they hated the taste of beer, and went back in and got loads of sweets. And when he comes out the strip club, he looks more interested in the hot wings. You got hot wings everywhere in America, and his comment, Dave, is, what was it again? He gave away all his money.
We need more money, dude.
How did you spend all the money? She goes, they were very persuasive.
Yes, absolutely. And then Freddie says the same thing then later on in the movie when we realize he's got teleportation powers, which is kind of glossed over.
I don't think he has teleportation powers. I don't think he has it. We'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that one.
Excellent, of course.
What he does next is he zaps an ATM machine to get money out of it, which is, again, another thing you would probably do if you had lightning hands.
Without a shadow. I mean, that is so a child's conversation. Like, how do we get... And also harks back to the child version of who's the Terminator trying to kill for everything?
John Connor.
Exactly. So Terminator 2, John Connor hacks pass machines constantly to get cash out of it.
He does. Yes, he does. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it just reminded me of that slightly. Yeah.
And then we have like lots of kind of montagey stuff. Yeah. They start playing Mortal Kombat 11, which I enjoy because I'm a big fan of fighting games. Yes. We're talking about Mortal Kombat just in the last thing about John Wick.
Exactly. And again, like the childish thing, like you say, Dave, all the childish things they go through, the first thing he destroys with his powers are their school books.
Yeah.
Zap algebra.
English. Very good. And in Mortal Kombat, Shazam is playing as Raiden, the God of Thunder, because he has lightning powers.
Brilliant.
Just to add more.
Totally got me there.
That is also a thing where really he didn't need to be Shazam to be playing a PlayStation 4. He could have just been a regular person.
He really could,
He'd been complaining earlier about his stupid adult hands and how they don't work properly, so he probably would have done better if he was a kid.
Yeah, and even for Freddie, even saying like, I'm defeating you with my eyes closed. It's like, but you're still using those super bars. You're absolutely right there.
And they also go to a bank and try to get a loan for a lair.
Yes,
and this is where the conflict starts to happen between Billy and Freddie.
Yeah,
because
he says that line. You're absolutely right, Dave. Like, because she basically says how many bedrooms you need.
Yeah,
and he says 1, and Freddie says 7.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the start of the conflict where Billy sees himself as the kind of the lone wolf.
Yeah, you're so right. We're getting that. Because there'd be more touches to this type of emotion, this type of mindset. Yeah,
and Freddie kind of sees them as part of a team, which they kind of are. But like Billy's, leaving with the bullet, leaving with the batarang, whatever. He's kind of 1 foot out the door. He doesn't really know what he's going to do, but he doesn't see Freddie as being part of it. And this kind of comes to a head then when Freddie gets bullied again and tells the bullies that they better not mess with him because he's friends with a superhero.
Exactly, and Billy's standing beside him.
And Billy's not happy because they had a talk previously where Freddie said, you can't let anybody know who your friends or your family are because supervillains will target you. And Freddie's like, no, it's fine. These aren't supervillains. They're just bullies.
Yes.
And then Billy's like, oh yeah, so the rules don't apply to you, but they apply to me, which is a fair point.
And it's and in fairness, in a way, it's actually one of the truer sequences or relationship kind of development points in the film, because that's the way kids would be with each other.
Yeah.
They'd be trying to figure out what to do, or you shouldn't do that, or you should do that. And it is still, even, it doesn't matter how big Shazam looks and how grown up, he still is a 14-year-old child.
Yeah. And then that night at dinner, they have a fight. There's a recurring thread through the film where before they have dinner, they do the hands in, the foster thing, and Billy never puts his hand in.
No.
And they do it in there saying grace, so sorry, Billy's hand is on vacay. And they have a fight over basically, who should do this and who should do that, and I don't think Shazam is that cool, he should do this, and they're arguing. They'll reference it later like an old married couple.
Exactly, and it's a great reference later.
And as Billy storms off, I think they were talking about sidekicks, and Billy goes, name one cool sidekick. Nobody can.
No, exactly.
And another point that they bring back to here, one of the kids who gets the most amount of screen time is Darla. And they go, Darla, you're unnoticeably quiet today.
It's really cool. They're mouthful of food and she's like saying nothing.
So then Billy continues on. He's taking selfies with people for money. He's just he's almost busking as a superhero.
Yeah, he is, Dave. Yeah, he really is. Again, a child's idea of what to do. He's just excited about the idea that he looks different.
Yeah.
And he now has some individuality, something that Billy has been craving his whole time, or it's something that defines him.
Yes.
Because he's only been defined as the foster kid, as the guy whose mother left him all these years in his own brain. So now all of a sudden he's defined as someone who has power, someone who actually influences people and can surprise them with certain things. But he is just busking for it. He's just taking selfies, and even that one line almost is like the lowest point of him in a strange way, where he takes a selfie with the couple and he kind of goes to them, well, people usually give me a couple of dollars.
Yeah.
Kind of go, dude, a couple of dollars, you're a superhero.
Yeah. And
at that point, we do have. Is it slowly after that, then, Dave, that Freddie does confront him?
He will confront him soon after the bus incident.
Oh, did the bus happen before? Does he not confront him, Dave? And remember, he's busking up at the top of the steps again.
Yes.
We're back to the steps.
He's at the top of the steps. And it's a deep reference because he's going, hands, lightning from my hands, to the tune of Eye of the Tiger.
Absolutely.
At the top of the steps where Rocky was, where Eye of the Tiger featured prominently. So we're going deep Philly references.
Massive Philly
references. We're in a tub of Philadelphia.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
All the cream cheese.
Yes.
And he's basically giving out to him for taking last episode. Oh, no, you're right. The bus thing doesn't happen just yet.
No, because he has that kind of face off with him, Dave, where he's doing the busking and he's basically just giving him loads, saying, where were you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and he's saying to him, like, no, you said I was going to turn up. You know, Billy's saying, Shazam is saying, I didn't say I was going to turn up. You know, and he basically has left him high and dry.
And he mentions he got a suitcase wedgie.
He got a suitcase wedgie, exactly.
Which is a wedgie so bad you get carried around like you're a suitcase.
I mean, seriously, you'd rather be locked inside your locker.
Yeah.
You know, than paraded around by your underwear. And he throws his underwear at Shazam as well, which is cool. But then, like, he's at that point, Shazam is kind of going like, well, I don't really need you and I can do what I want. And he fires off that bolt, which just hits the tire of a bus.
I got the orders mixed up a little bit. What happens before the bus thing is that he saves his older foster sister from basically walking out in front of traffic.
But you're so right. Do you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. I got that confused myself because he does.
And they have a conversation where she wants to go to college, but she doesn't want to desert her family. And he doesn't see the problem because he's like, well, obviously desert your family because, this is what's best for you.
Exactly.
And he says the line, look out for number one. Gandhi said that. And she said, I'm pretty sure Gandhi didn't say that. He said, well, I'm pretty sure he did. If he didn't, it was probably Yoda.
Gandhi gets called into it.
And he doesn't do a good job of pretending that he doesn't know her because he says her name and he knows she lives in the house. And he says...
It's only think that she's in such shock from nearly dying that she doesn't put two and two together there yet. Because the people in this movie that are intelligent are the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And what happens next is the lightning from my hand section, which I said a little bit out of sequence. So he's lightning from my hands with his with his lasers, and one of the lightning bolts arcs up, flies down, and hits a bus.
Yeah.
And we're going to discuss the consequences of that after this. And we're back on the Movie Book Club talking about Shazam. My name's David Sheehan and I'm here with James McAuliffe on Z103 Online. So he blows out the tires of a bus.
Yes.
And there's lots of moments in this that I quite like where, the bus is careening off and Billy's kind of like, oh, somebody should do something.
Yes.
But then he always looks down at himself.
He does.
Sees his own chest and goes, oh, wait, that's me.
Yeah.
And he does this a number of times through the film where, like, he forgets that he is a grown man.
He does. You referenced that yesterday, Dave, with his first reference of coming out the subway car and banging his head. Absolutely. He's still getting used to himself.
I think those are, like, nice little actor touches by Zachary Levi. And basically, the bus is hanging off of a bridge. Thankfully, it's, like, caught in some cables. And he's down at the bottom trying to figure out what to do. It's like a funny sequence where a guy falls from the back of the bus and lands on the windscreen.
Yes.
And he sees Shazam below getting ready to save him.
Yeah.
And Billy's best idea is to run off and grab a dirty mattress and just put it under the bus.
Yeah.
And he's like pointing at the mattress for the guy, like, oh, land on this.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, no, dude, no.
No, I've absolutely nailed it.
And he's trying to think of like what to do next. And he doesn't have an idea. The bus falls on him.
Yes.
And we get like a fade to black. But when we fade back up, we realize that, oh, he's got the bus.
Yeah. And he realizes he's got the bus.
Yeah.
And he's like so excited that he's got the bus.
He's like, dude, I got a bus.
Yeah.
And then he goes to put the bus down. And just a nice little another comedic moment is that there's a dog in the way.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's tried to get a dog to move, like dogs,
when they don't want to move.
They don't want to move.
No,
it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So the dog runs off. He puts down the bus, and then people are giving him accolades, and the press is interviewing him, and he's like, he feels like a proper hero for the first time.
He does.
Almost accidentally, because he's the one who caused the bus crash.
Certainly.
And then Freddie comes up and they have an argument.
They do.
Because Freddie rightly noticed that he's the one who crashed the bus. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the rare moments in the film where Freddie swears.
It does, because it literally all comes to a head at that moment.
Yeah. As Freddie storms off really angry, Billy says to him, oh, you wish it was you who got the powers.
Of course he does.
Freddie turns around to him and says, no shit.
Yeah, exactly. Of course I do. You know what I mean? Have you seen me? No one notices me. I'm half crippled.
Yeah. And if they're allowed one swear word in a 12s movie, I'm allowed that one.
Yeah, I give it to Freddie. Because he's just been such a great character throughout the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. He's a legend.
And then nicely in the background, this is where Savannah appears.
Exactly. We get our evil supervillain. Arrives into our movie all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And the whole you see Savannah too. The Savannah is treating Billy and Shazam as a grown man.
Yes.
Even Savannah has to go on a learning curve of what Billy really is.
Yeah.
Or not what Shazam really is. The whole concept that like Savannah grew up and he's a grown man, whereas Billy still is in that child.
Yeah, like it's almost as if Savannah is fighting the version of himself from the past if he would have gotten the powers.
Exactly, like we were talking about yesterday. That whole idea if Shazam the wizard, the original, hadn't been having such if he'd had a rough day like he had for Billy, maybe Savannah would be the chosen one.
And they have a fight, and initially Billy's like, "Oh, you're a supervillain?
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Like, listen, dude, I want to let you know I'm basically indestructible." And like as he's saying that, Savannah punches him out and knocks him into a police car.
Absolutely, and blood comes from
his nose. And the police attempt to intervene, and we get a little bit of plot dump where Savannah like zaps the police away with lightning and says specifically, "The weapons of man draw no blood from our kind."
Exactly, and magic can only defeat magic.
And this is a rule kind of in the DC verse where like magic seems to be like a tier above everything. Even like watching the old Superman cartoons, Superman is invulnerable to everything, like except kryptonite, but also magic. If anything is even remotely magic, it seems like it can kill Superman.
Yeah, or even if it can't kill him, it can give him a proper fight. It can bring him down to level, if you know what I mean.
And Savannah's pounding on Billy because he can fly and he has sort of a better command of his powers than Billy does. And there's a moment where Savannah lifts him up above the clouds and he's about to punch him in the face.
He said, "You wouldn't punch a kid, would you?"
Or Billy's like, "Please, mister, please leave me alone." And Savannah goes, "You complain like a child." And he goes, "I'm a child, I'm only 14." Which he probably shouldn't have told him. And then Savannah punches him into the face and he goes flying down towards the ground and he's screaming to himself, "I gotta learn how to fly, I gotta learn how to fly."
And like you said earlier, Dave, and then we have another fade to black, which is another reveal of him literally just floating a couple of millimeters or inches off the tarmac.
And then he realizes that he did at the last second learn how to fly, and then he rights himself and he's floating on a freeway. And as you have in your notes, what happens next?
Hit by the bus. I apologize. Hit by a truck.
He gets hit by a truck, which you would think is a weapon of man, and maybe would have just crumpled around him. But for the purposes of comedy, it knocks him off the bridge and sends him flying.
Sends him flying when everyone runs to see if he's okay.
And he goes flying past Freddie, and he's like, "Freddie, I need your help!" Right before he gets knocked out of the sky, and Freddie's still annoyed from the fight. So they leave a hole in the ground. Freddie just shouts down the hole, "Who's the other guy?"
Exactly.
And this is also the first appearance of Terrified Santa Claus. Who is a recurring character throughout the film.
He is an excellent character throughout the film. And in a strange way, like you said yesterday, Dave, it is a Christmas film, right? And you start getting more and more references, but you start to forget about being a Christmas film because you get involved in the whole superhero, evil, demon, and everyone fighting each other kind of buzz. But then, crazy Santa, all for himself Santa, maybe. All for himself Santa kind of helps to bring us back to that Christmas feel. Well, anti-Christmas feeling in a way as well, but it brings us back to the fact that this is a Christmas movie. And a Christmas movie in the modern sense of Christmas just happening slightly in the peripheral around the back of the film.
And the joke in this scene is that the little girl asks Santa what he does for the rest of the year, and he tells her that him and Mrs. Claus are always there for all the kids and they'll never leave them. And then as the superheroes crash through the roof, he throws the kid off and runs screaming, "Somebody save me!"
Yes.
Billy at this moment crashes into a changing room, which sort of is a couple of comedic scenes in a row, because there's women about to go in to try on dresses, and he just like closes the door going, "I'm just going to wait in here for a minute." And Savannah finds him, and they end up in a toy shop.
They do. They end up in the mall. Basically, they're fighting kind of through a mall. And they end up in a toy shop, which just is ample opportunity to start throwing loads of DC products at.
He throws teddy bears at him, and then he throws a Batman toy, and he says, "Go get him, Batman!" And the toy goes, "I am Batman."
Exactly. And that then just a total little nerd thing I actually haven't written down, I just remembered it from reading something. That's the director's voice. He voices Batman.
Oh, really?
So that's his little Easter egg of himself. That's how he entered himself into the film.
He voiced two other people in this film as well. We'll get to that when they appear.
You're right. I just can't remember.
And then this is probably the most obscene reference to the film Big.
Like we've been talking about it yesterday as well, Dave. It is the big reference. Because you never forget that. I mean, I've seen it myself from when I was in New York back in the day, like in FAO Schwartz, and like this toy shop that we're in now is trying to ape FAO Schwartz. I mean, it can't, because that's one of the most ultimate toy shops that ever existed and doesn't exist. Well, it doesn't exist the way it does anymore. They sold it to bloody Apple from a faceless Apple store. It's a horrible thing to do, Dave.
That's
terrible.
terrible.
Going back to New York years later and going, what is this horrendous thing? And like a crappy Apple store. And I think they've reopened FAO Schwartz again now somewhere else, but not in its original spot. But you're absolutely right, Dave. We get the massive big reference.
And like Billy steps on the piano keys and he's kind of like, oh, and he's like noticing that the notes are playing, and then as he's doing that, he hears like plunk, 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 and it's Savannah running up to punch him. And that the big reference then is over. Billy's running through the mall then, and he's trying to figure out how to fly.
He is.
I saw on kind of some of the behind the scenes stuff that there's a moment in this where there's a bunch of the film crew is standing in the mall scene.
Oh, well spotted.
Just watching.
Okay.
I didn't spot this. I wouldn't notice details like this. But in order to cover it up, they just like CG'd some shopping bags into their hands.
Okay.
But if you go back and watch it, you see that everyone in the mall is running away from Shazam and Savannah.
Except the crew.
Except there's just like 6 people by the side of the stairs just kind of watching what's happening, not moving.
That's excellent.
So that's just a little Easter egg. But this is the moment then when you say that Billy sort of implements his first tactic.
Yeah, certainly, Dave. It's the first time he kind of uses his own gumption or cop on or intelligence, and it's not even the Shazam superpower. It's the idea of just turning off and on his powers.
Yeah. So he says Shazam while Savannah has him pinned under a skylight. Lightning strikes down, obviously hits Billy and depowers him.
Exactly. It blinds everyone. Usually you can't see anything, and then Billy as a child becomes indistinguishable. There you go, McAuliffe. Indistinguishable from everyone else.
Exactly. And Savannah's there trying to find him, and he's looking around, and he notices on the television the interview or the TV footage of Shazam arguing with Freddie.
Exactly. So
and then he sees Freddie calling for Billy.
Exactly.
So being a doctor of something, he pieces that together pretty quickly.
Yeah. He didn't need to be Sherlock Holmes supervillain to get that one together.
Yeah, and he was Sherlock Holmes' supervillain. Great reference.
Exactly, mate.
So then we cut back to the foster home.
Exactly.
Where the brothers and sisters are watching the footage on television.
Exact same footage.
And the eldest sister, I forget her name, is trying to put it together that why is Freddie talking to Shazam? And then she goes, why is Shazam talking to Freddie? And she's looking at their body language and their hand motions like, this is a lot like when Billy and Freddie argued at dinner. And then they piece it together. Like, he knew my name. I think Billy is Shazam. And then all of a sudden Darla perks up and she goes, oh my God, you guys figured it out. I'm so happy. And I didn't give anything away.
Exactly. She says again, I'm a good sister.
I'm a good sister.
And it does bring back to that classic trope of, again, like we say, because he's referenced throughout this movie massively, is Superman. So bring back that massive trope of when Christopher Reeve takes off his glasses, he's Superman, he puts his glasses on, he's not Superman, and no one else can see this. But that obviously always children can see this. We're just roaring at the screen saying, hey, Superman, why can none of the adults know what's going on? And that really is a lovely moment in this film where the kids are always the ones with the intelligence that see exactly what's going on in front of them.
And speaking of the kids having the intelligence, Billy comes home defeated.
He does.
And the kids kind of confront him and say that we know you're Shazam, but also we know that you're probably going to run away because you've always been looking for your mom. We found your mom. Here's her address.
It's really cool. And the little kid who's kind of like the tech geek in it, who was gaming at the start with the Wilhelm scream, he's the one that kind of basically hacks everything. And he references a couple of video games. I'm not a hacker per se, but I've played Watch Dogs, and I just had a look in the NSA databases or whatever. So they give him the address, and he runs off. He does
immediately. Doesn't even stop to talk.
Of course, because he is still on that arc. He still hasn't come to terms or accepted or become comfortable with the new Billy that he is with his new family. He still has to resolve that whole arc in his life. He goes there.
So he runs off. The foster parents run after him, and right after he leaves, Savannah comes into the house with Freddie. And he's looking for Billy.
He is.
Then we cut to Billy,
and that's another one of our curses, because he basically says about it. He says like, "Oh, how quaint." And then he just looks around, changes his mind, and goes, "No, what a shithole."
He is unimpressed with the house, which, based on what we're going to see in a second, I realize what a nice house it is, because we cut to Billy in like a dingy apartment complex. And he knocks on a door, and his mom comes out, not looking great. Bit white trashy, possible crackhead.
Stuff hasn't happened properly for her. There's some guy roaring in the background.
Who's at the door? First thing she says to Billy is that she doesn't want to buy any magazines and she's late for work. And then he tells her who he is.
He gives what he pulls out the compass.
The compass. First. It says, I found my way. And then you hear the guy roaring from the apartment again. Who is it? And then you hear her say back, it's no one. And she closes the door behind her, and that's when we're kind of like, oh no.
And Billy starts to get it too, and straight away he goes for that line, which is the defining kind of moment of his whole life up to this point, where he says to her, I didn't run away. It wasn't me.
I didn't do it. I
didn't do it on purpose.
I got lost. I'm sorry.
And at least the one thing she gives him, it is one of the most horrible and depressing encounters you've ever seen between a mother and her son. But the one thing she does give him is that she says, "I know. I know you didn't." And then she breaks it to him. Dave.
She breaks it. She saw him. She saw him after he got lost. And then we cut back to the original flashback at the start of the film. I was hoping I could do like a frame by frame comparison between between the start and the ending.
Yeah.
But the new flashback we see is much, much shorter, and it's much tighter.
It is.
We don't see the establishing shots of the carnival or anything that. It's just almost the camera perspective of the balloons she was throwing the darts at.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. And in a way, the first perspective we saw, like you said yesterday, in fairness to you, was from young Billy's mind. So yes, we see all of the carnival, all the hype, all the fun, the colour and everything.
Kids always win, as you said.
Kids always win was on the thing. And like you said, this one is from her point of view.
Yeah.
So things are a lot dour, are a lot shorter, a lot more pointed about what's going on, a lot more adult.
She looks like much more haggard.
She does.
She almost looks more wet, as in like her hair before was quite bouncy and she had like a frilly collar, but now she's like everything's down.
You can see the weight of the world on her shoulders now in this sequence.
Almost kind of oily, and her tone, all the words are the same, but her tone is different. Her tone at the start was jubilant. Oh, your mom's not going pro. It's like, oh, your mom's not going pro, Billy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot more cursive and a lot more, tart, if you know what I mean. Like,
So when she tells him that she saw him with the police after he got lost, and she figured he'd be better off with the police than with her, he's just kind of like, okay, well, I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing okay.
Yeah, and even she says that to him. She says like, "Oh, you're doing fine, aren't you? You
landed on your feet."
He's 14, love.
Yeah,
he isn't anywhere near.
He doesn't have feet to land on.
No, not yet. He still has like high school to finish. Maybe go to college. Like do his SATs. There's so much he's got to do. He's nothing done yet. Yeah. She really is not a mother.
Yeah, and then the big character moment for Billy is that he gives her the compass.
Yeah, I did.
And he says, "I think you need this more than I do."
Yeah, find direction in her life, and he's right.
Yeah, and then he says, I have to go now. I need to go back to my real family.
Exactly, which is lovely.
Yeah, that's a lovely little character moment.
It truly is changing right there then. And then I was actually thinking about this after Dave. So he says, got to go back to my family. He sprints down the corridor. He obviously goes up the escape stairs, not down, because he emerges on top of the roof.
Yes.
And in Wonder Woman, in Batman vs Superman, in Superman and Man of Steel, and Aquaman, all DC, every one of those characters has stood on a roof, the edge of a cliff, the edge of a pier. Every single one, and you can guess which ones apply to which ones.
Yeah.
But with the exact same framing.
Really?
From the back, one single shot of the character standing. You're just looking at their back. You're looking out into the vista, and then they literally jump.
Yeah.
So it's a DC universe establishing shot for the moment a character decides to embrace their powers and embrace exactly who they are and just get on with it.
Yeah, and the reason he's getting on with it is that Freddie called his phone and he initially answers and just apologizes. Like, yes, Freddie, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that to you. But he doesn't realize it's not Freddie on the phone. It's Savannah calling him from Freddie's phone, and he just says, "Come home, Billy."
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting is that that's the first time I think Billy activated his powers while moving, because he does jump off of a building. Like he is very eager to save his family. As far
Absolutely.
as we know, the lightning bolt only works like strictly vertically.
Straight up.
And if he's moving horizontally, jumping off a building, maybe he'll just die. But like, he doesn't care.
I agree, Dave.
He's going for it.
Yeah, it was your classic third test for Indiana Jones, the leap of faith.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and Zeus's lightning bolt hits him straight in the chest, and boom,
straight in the chest
immediately.
You don't even see him transitioning. It's like a cartoon. There's a smoke cloud into a speed line. And then he's off.
It's a lovely. Those whole couple of shots are actually really, really class.
Yeah.
They really are.
And then we go back to the foster home, and we see Savannah has all the kids. Sitting on a couch. He is quite civilized with them. Like, Savannah's not like he's obviously a bad guy. He wants the powers of the champion, but he's not.
No, I don't think he wants to slaughter their family.
Yeah, he's not a mass murderer.
No.
Excluding the boardroom scene, but was kind of personal. But other than that, he hasn't been seen to be needlessly murdering.
No.
So he's quite polite with the kids, and he basically says to Shazam, like, he brings out some of the sins, and he goes, "Okay, you got to go with me to the lair. You got to give me your powers. I'm gonna kill the kids."
Again, and just even before there is that slightly kid adult kind of back and forth as well, where he says, "You come in, no, you come out, no, you come in, no, you come out," and he goes in. Exactly, Dave. And then,
the kids always lose that battle. I don't want to come in. You have to come
always.
in.
And Savannah does seem to now, like you said earlier, Dave, he does understand his own powers a lot better than Billy does, even still at this point, because Savannah seems to be able to open the door to the other realm at the click of a finger.
Yeah, he shoots a lightning bolt from his hand, which like engraves the ruins 7 times.
Exactly, exactly the same door that destroyed the scientists in the first half of the film.
Yeah. And then there's a moment then where Billy agrees to go in, and all the kids say no, and Darla especially says, "No, Billy, don't do it." And he turns to Darla and goes, "Look, this is what a good brother would do.
Absolutely, Dave.
So like Billy's 100% in now.
Oh, absolutely. He is part of the family. He's embracing himself as a superhero. And there's a lovely shot which just shows you everyone else. There's been decorations everywhere. The whole city's decorated. It's Christmas to the nth degree. And just before Billy walks through the door with Savannah, the camera just looks backwards, and all of their decorations haven't been put up. Some of them are still in boxes.
Yeah.
Their Christmas tree is a little bit wonky, Dave, a little bit missing some things, but you get that sense of that their Christmas joy is about themselves and being together.
Yeah.
Because like, not jumping ahead too much for our listeners, but when the parents come home again, you see that their Christmas wreath is all of their faces on the wreath, which is a lovely touch.
Yeah, and there was a great moment earlier in the film where Billy deactivated his powers in the house, and the dad thought that he had blown the fuse by putting up the Christmas tree lights incorrectly.
Yes.
So it's all very Christmassy. So we're going to talk about the finale inside of the lair after this. Welcome back to the Movie Book Club. We're in a lair of a wizard here talking about Shazam.
Yes.
So Billy goes with Savannah to kind of the throne room area where he originally got his powers, and Savannah basically says, put your hand on the staff, say the name of the champion, and then all the sins come out, and they're kind of
they're berating him. They're kind of not that they're egging him on, but they're basically being a bunch of bullies again around him. The whole bullying trope is really, really strong throughout this whole film.
And a little bit of observation on Billy's part is that he does say to Savannah, like, Mister, I don't think these things have your best interests at heart.
It was a real that's a great point, Dave. That really showed Billy's arc is changing now for the good. Like, his empathy has just kicked in, even for the supervillain. And there's a lot of parallels between him and the superhero, as there should be in a superhero film. Of course. Because as we keep going back to originally from yesterday, either one of them could have been the other guy.
Yeah.
It truly could have,
And then at that moment, a batarang hits Savannah in the back of the head.
Yes.
And there's a second where the less clever part of me is like, oh my God, is Batman in this?
Yeah.
But no, it's not Batman. It's Freddie.
It's Freddie, of course, yeah.
And all the kids.
Yeah, awesome Freddie, yeah. All armed with, like, I think a super soaker. They've got an old bash. They're armed with, like, children's weapons.
Yeah. I think, one of them has a lamp as well. And Savannah turns around to look at them, and that's when Billy notices that the back of his head is bleeding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Billy's like, oh.
So this is your classic in a movie. This is the first time we see the weakness of the super villain.
Yeah. And then the sins reform into Savannah, and you see his head immediately heal back up.
Yes.
So Billy twigs then. Billy understands what's happening. And as Savannah advances on the kids, Billy picks up the batarang, infuses it with lightning, and like stabs Savannah down in the shoulder. And then I think he picks him up and like throws him into the wall.
He throws him in the wall, and then they run away.
Yeah. Because
kids
there's always a thing where you're screaming out, "Oh, take care of the villain while he's down." But like, if you're a kid, you're going to run away.
You're going to run away.
And that's where I thought this was funny. We're talking about this off mic, but they enter a room, and we both described it as the Monsters Inc. room.
Yes, certainly.
Because there's just a load of doors floating in space.
Yeah, a load of doors floating in space, and they get to that first through the actual set, the room itself, the lair feels like a classic lair in the sense of a gorge with loads of concrete steps everywhere, and it seems like you said yourself, Dave, it seems almost infinite. But we're in the Monsters Inc. room.
And there's men with crocodile heads, which were also voiced by the director. I think is a reference to another Shazam villain.
You're so right. You're so right. And it is a Shazam villain. Yeah.
And there's a door you said was a reference to.
So we'd say one of the doors, like Dave says, is the crocodiles, but then another one of the doors, and I checked everywhere, and I don't think anyone gets the reference. I don't know why. You get this strange kind of fog, and a tentacle comes out, and it's actually the other little young dude squishes the tentacle in the door. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not even far as I'm concerned, I know it is. That's a reference to Dave the Triffids, and Dave the Triffids was an original black and white movie, which really kind of only had some of the Triffids in it, and it was more about relationships and trying to save each other as humans. But then it was remade as a British TV series in the late 80s, early 90s, Dave the Triffids, and that needs to be checked out.
I'm not
sure if we can get it anywhere, or if it can be uploaded, or if it's been re-released, but that really was a really good show. And
then at this point, Billy goes, all right, no more doors, nobody open any more doors. And they sort of Billy, like, you've been here before, how did you get away?
Yes.
And Billy goes, oh, I just like pictured being back on the subway because I really wanted to get away. And they're like, oh, why don't you do that again, like picture another place. We were also talking about this off mic. You interpreted this as Billy having the powers of teleportation.
Exactly.
But what I understood is that this is just the exit to the lair. This is a power that the wizard's location has, that while you're in the wizard's place, because it is infinitely big,
that's really
if
interesting.
you will yourself to be somewhere else,
yes,
you can leave from there to go anywhere.
Yes, and it literally just hit me as we're talking then too. Also, there's a book called The Stars of My Destination, where the character in it is called a nomad. He starts in almost like a metal box of fridge in the middle of space, in the middle of nowhere, and then appears on Earth. But he does a thing, it's called jaunting. Yeah. And so his power is jaunting. So if you can imagine the place perfectly in your mind, you will appear there.
I have read other books. I think the Magician series has a similar thing,
where
there's a lot of wizards who have exactly tiled teleportation rooms, and if you can remember every tile, you can go there.
And then jaunting becomes a big thing, and there becomes they put a big kind of like stage in the middle of Times Square, because Times Square is an absolute place. People always have a picture in them, so you have people jaunting in and out of Times Square.
Oh, very good.
But anyway, that's just an aside, listeners. Yeah.
And the place that Billy thinks of is the strip club from earlier.
Yeah. It's so called. Yeah.
It's great to have a joke sort of in your sort of climax.
It really is. And then of course Freddie is the same one going, it's lovely people. They're lovely people.
Yeah, they're so nice. The darling is saying, oh, why are my eyes closed? Oh, I'm covered in glitter. Can I go out for glitter? And they're like, you don't want glitter from there. And then the larger Hispanic goes, not my thing, which is maybe like a tiny reference to him being gay. I don't know. He gets the least amount of screen time.
Yes.
But Billy then decides to rely on his tactic from earlier, which is he grabs up all the kids and they go back to the Winter Carnival where everything began.
Exactly. They go to Philadelphia.
So good.
I know, yeah.
It's so good. And he decides then, once he's in a crowd, to do the same trick he did earlier, which is to depower himself.
Exactly.
So Savannah can't find him, but accidentally that's what draws Savannah, because he's floating up in the sky just looking at the skyline.
He sees
and the lightning bolt exactly pinpoints, like a Google pin, where Freddie is.
Excellent.
And Savannah kind of shows up and he's like, oh, champion, like, you're a coward because your tactic is based on the fact that I won't slaughter all these innocent people to get to you.
And then, like you said earlier, Dave, when Savannah wasn't going to hurt the children, here now his evil arc is increasing.
Yeah.
Because you do believe he will actually start killing people in public.
The tactic of hiding in a carnival only works depending on how civilized your opponent is. And Savannah's kind of running out of patience.
Yes.
So he is willing to kill everybody.
Yeah.
He starts doing lightning bolts, and Scared Santa reappears. It's like, everybody's gonna die, and runs off. So Scared Santa has his arc, which he has no development at all. He's just always running away.
He's developed just to get more and more manic.
Yeah. And then there's a scene where I believe you mentioned this off mic yesterday, where Billy is hiding from Savannah and he's in the booth.
He is.
Where his mom won him the prize.
Yeah, so we've now come back to the booth for the third time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's exactly where this is the booth. This is the beginning of Billy's whole arc and what changed his whole life. And now he's back in that booth looking at a father and child who are both scared.
Yeah.
And he gives the little child the tiger he was meant to win all those years ago, and then basically realizes, I now gotta man up.
Yeah. And he says to them ambiguously, you hold on tight now. And that could be interpreted to tell the girl to hold on to the tiger and to tell the dad to hold on to the girl, because he's gonna sort it out. One thing I thought was a little strange here is that when we cut out, Freddie figures out Savannah's weakness. He says, we have to get the sins out of him because that's how the Batarang was able to hurt him.
Okay.
When I was watching this, I was like, that was Billy's realization. I didn't think Freddie noticed or saw that.
Yeah, the thing is though, I suppose I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that is a slight little problem maybe, but with Freddie's whole development so far, Dave, up to this point, Freddie is the guy who knows the information. Freddie's got the knowledge.
Yeah,
like
Freddie is the genre savvy character within the genre.
Like a London taxi cab driver, he's got the knowledge.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. If Freddie's the go-to guy to find out, is this the way superpowers work, or what's the trope? You know, what's the development?
Yeah. And then as a reference to earlier, Savannah stares at Billy. One of the kids goes, Billy Duck, and Billy ducks, and Savannah seems to shoot something out of his eyes.
He does.
And crashes through a sign. And Billy's like, he's got laser eyes. Maybe I have laser eyes. A reference back to the Powers montage.
Yes.
Where they were trying to figure out all the different powers Billy had.
Yeah.
And I wrote down some of them just because I thought it was funny that he had hyperspeed, check.
Yeah.
Super strength, check. Flight, X at the time.
Yes.
Time reversing, X.
Yeah.
Telepathy, X. I think it said matter eating. It was hard to read on the screen.
Okay, yeah.
Laser eyes, X. And then fire immunity, double underlined, because that was the one they found.
Yes. That was like an out of nowhere one.
Yeah.
Then doesn't he? They split them up.
Yeah. And we discover a weakness of Billy's thing because he, as you're saying, he is used to shape-shifting back and forth. One of the bigger sins grabs him by the arms.
Yes.
And he shape-shifts back into Billy to basically get out of his grip because then his arms are smaller. But Savannah pins his head underwater.
Yeah.
Because they break an ice rink and they pin him, and he starts saying Shazam under the water.
Yes.
But that doesn't work because he's not saying it properly.
Exactly.
So that's his weakness now, is that if he gets pinned as Kid Billy in a place where he can't speak.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
He's got nothing.
If you could mute him, even like wrapping his face would stop him. Does that happen after, Dave, or before he gets them all to hold the staff?
This is still before.
Okay, perfect.
The last thing that happens here is that the older sister, whose name I can never remember, gets a gun from one of the stalls.
Oh yeah, you're so right.
Fires a shot at Savannah's eye that is like Hawkeye level accuracy.
Yeah.
We see it flying directly towards him, and at the last second, Savannah catches it with just his finger in his thumb.
A BB gun is what's called in America.
And then we realize at this point that he still has one of the sins inside of him.
Yes.
He's learned too. He's adapting, and he's only letting out 6 at a time, and he's keeping the one to keep himself invulnerable.
Envy, I think. Is what
he keeps envy inside of him. And then this is the moment where he threatens to kill the kids again. He catches
all the sins have them together, and strangely, Dave, they're actually in a circus ring. That's where he gathers them all.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a slight, small, big top with a tiny ring.
Yeah.
So he gathered them all. He's basically now, this is his final face-off with Billy, basically saying, you need to give me your powers now.
Yeah. And Billy puts his hand on the staff, and then he flashes back to when the wizard Shazam originally gave him the powers.
Exactly.
And
I think that's the first start as well, Dave, of Billy starting to use his intelligence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because up to this point, Shazam has just been a 14-year-old boy. Yes, he's meant to have super intelligence, but that comes with age and experience as well.
That was one thing I wrote down, was that when they're listing all the powers he has, one of the powers he apparently has is the wisdom of Solomon.
Yes,
and
you're right.
At no point during the film did I feel like Billy was the wisdom of Solomon.
He's a complete idiot. No.
I don't know on a scale of 1 to 10 how wise Solomon is, but I'm guessing it's not a 2.
Yeah. Granted, we'll be coming to a part soon where he actually uses his intelligence.
Yeah. But he flashes back to what the wizard said to him, and he's focusing on different words now than he was the first time. And what the wizard says to him is, Billy, I'm opening my heart to you. And then he says, like, the love of our brothers and sisters awaits, and he kind of gestures to the thrones. And Billy realizes that there's 7 thrones, and there's 7 of him in the family, and that if Savannah gets his powers by holding on to the staff while he says Shazam, maybe that will work for the other guys.
He can give away his powers to other people by saying
so instead of doing that, he hits Savannah with the staff and knocks him away, and he puts the staff down, and he gets the kids to put their hand up. And he says, touch the staff and say my name. And there's a dramatic swell of music, and all the kids go, Billy!
Yes, absolutely.
And he goes, no, say the name that I say to turn into this guy.
Yeah.
And then they say Shazam, and then this is the thing, because obviously if you're following this film behind the scenes, you would know that this was going to happen, because they announced everything. But I had no idea that this was going to take place, because I knew the old comics. We get what we're known as the Marvel family.
Yes.
Which is everybody gets powers.
Yeah, everybody gets powers.
You get powers, you get powers.
And you're right, Dave, it was when he was Captain Marvel. The whole family had the powers, before he became Shazam.
There's probably even a superpowered dog, as there often is in the old comics. So then everybody has powers. And this is probably the moment for me where I wish that there was more cuts and less film.
Yeah.
Because I understand that you're casting now 6 adult actors who all have lines, who all have parts, who are all going to be doing press junkets.
Exactly.
But I didn't need to see each of them individually having a fight and seeing what their individual powers are. I think Darla's fast, and like the big Hispanic kid is very strong.
Ridiculously strong. One thing, I hear what you're saying, Dave, but just the way those movies work, you're going to have to walk through all of it, because they have to hit those points. There's some producer screaming at the scriptwriter going, you didn't develop each character for me, and the scriptwriter's saying, the kids know exactly what's happening, and your man's 50 years of age, he's an idiot. One of the, just as you're saying there, one of the nice things actually about when they all get their powers is that immediately Freddie floats.
Yeah.
So like his legs have been bad the whole time. He can't walk properly, but the first thing he does is literally he's floating.
I didn't notice that, and that goes back to the lunchroom conversation that he would choose flight.
Exactly.
He is a hero.
Immediately,
down to his core.
Freddie is at ease with what he's got, because he has that mindset of how powers work and how this whole universe works.
Yeah. So they have a fight with the sins, and this is a moment then again where Billy decides to use his intelligence, because he's figured out which of the 6 sins are out.
Yes.
And he he figures out that envy is the last one. So he decides to trick Envy by basically making him envious and saying, you're the smallest sin, you're the weakest sin, no wonder you're hiding inside this guy's body, you couldn't do a fight, anything. And there was a moment earlier where I think he was fighting Wrath, and every time he tried to punch him, Wrath would like dematerialize and rematerialize.
You're right, Jeff.
So he's also figured out how to fight the sins. Envy jumps out and he lets Envy pin him, and when he pins him, he says Shazam. The lightning bolt strikes Envy through him, scattering him.
Scattering Envy is right, exactly, and also making Savannah hang off a building.
Because he loses his power of flight and falls back off the building. Billy turns back and saves Savannah.
Yeah, he does.
As a hero should.
As a hero should always, and it's a classic thing. They always save the villain that's trying to defeat them at the very end, because there's no destroying the person, the actual human that's inside of the villain would be really bad in the universe.
So Billy retrieves the eye out of Savannah, and this desummons the seven deadly sins. So they're then trapped again inside the thing, and the day's won. Hooray, we are victorious.
It really is.
I just wish the sequence took maybe like 13 minutes less time than it did in the film.
I know. Again, going back to the way, in the sense of, it's been a really good film up to this. They've done lots of different things. They haven't followed every convention. But look, it's a Hollywood blockbuster. They're going to have to follow convention.
And that is something that I am definitely biased of. I will always prefer something can be good and short than be good and long. It'll get a lot more credit for me. So that's definitely my bias. They return the eye to the Rock of Eternity.
Exactly.
So they're safely encased, and now like Billy's powers are stronger than the wizards were, so he can obviously keep them. And that's when they realize that the Rock of Eternity looks a lot like a lair.
Yeah, it's a really good moment, and they're all so excited and delighted that they've got this lair. And of course, like, the youngest little one's going to say, oh, what's a lair?
Because she doesn't know all the words. Oh, there was a great moment, actually. My favorite moment during all the bits that I wish they cut was when Darla's running around trying to save people, and she meets terrified Santa Claus.
You're so right. I have it written.
And she just stops to tell him that she's been a really good girl. Which that's perfect, beautiful.
It is perfect for her character. Great. It was great.
I think maybe I just like Darla a lot in this film.
So do I. She's really, really cool character.
And the film concludes then with them at the school. Freddie's sitting for lunch.
Exactly. Well, just literally, you get the first moment of their own realization that the general populace love them when they're just standing on top of something, maybe I don't know what they're standing on, but everyone starts clapping them. And they start to get it. They start to realize, oh my God, we're heroes.
The Marvel family, which they will never ever be called.
No, never ever be called.
And then to make amends with Freddie for skipping out on the lunch previously, he gets all the kids to take their lunch breaks at the same time, and then Billy shows up as Shazam to have lunch with Freddie.
And just before he shows up, there's a shot just over Freddie's shoulder, and there's a poster in the background which says, be a hero, not a bully.
Oh, very good. I noticed as well during this scene that the name of the high school is Fawcett Central.
Oh, well done.
Which is the name of the comic that Captain Marvel originated from.
You had mentioned it yesterday, Dave. I missed that completely. Excellent.
I didn't see it until a very particular shot where it was framed over Freddie's head. Brilliant. And then at the last moment then, we see Superman in air quotes come in.
Of course, but Henry Cavill he couldn't be there because he'd done prior commitments. No more than like the stupid moustache to the thing. But
I read it was
go on.
Oh, it was Zachary Levi's stunt double who was in the outfit.
You're right.
But you were going to say in a way?
In a way, it's better. It's better we didn't see Superman's head. I'll tell you the truth. I think it's better just to leave the hint of him there, because this isn't a Superman movie, it's a Shazam movie, and it's a kids movie. A total like a kids movie. So that is a lovely sequence, and then we get our first post-credit scene. Just a hint that the caterpillar who we'd seen in a couple of scenes will probably be the villain in the next film. Absolutely. Dave, he's Mr. Mind.
Mr. Mind. He's a hyper-intelligent telepathic caterpillar.
And then more like you said, Dave, we've got the Marvel family. They were the first bad group, weren't they, ever?
He assembled the first union of bad guys that were recurring villains, as opposed to people created just for that
one. The Monster Society of Evil.
Yeah.
And actually just a tiny little effect, when they finally defeated him in the 40s cartoons, they gave him the electric chair and executed it.
Oh my God!
It's the 40s, my God, in children's comics, Crazyland. They brought him back in the 70s.
Truly it was the golden age. So we're going to have to leave it there. We'll be passing over next to, I believe it's Aaron Shrub's show. So we're going to leave you here with the final show from Niall Horan, which is Slow Hands.